Hello and welcome to the Keeper's Corner podcast with your hosts Matt Sterling and Brandon and Michelle Brooks. We are breaking down anything and everything Utica City. Let's go. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the Keeper's Corner podcast. We're your hosts once again, breaking down anything and everything related to Utica City. This week, we're going to look at a couple of the opponents that Utica will face this season, starting with Baltimore Blast and Harrisburg. Michelle, you want to open us up?
Baltimore Blast for the 2018 to 2019 season had a 17-7 record, had 145 goals for the team and 104 goals against, and made it to the conference finals before finally being knocked out by the Milwaukee Wave 2-1. 2017 to 2018, they had a 17-5 record with 143 goals for the team and 108 goals against, and were the Ron Newman Cup champions. So, for the Baltimore Blast, first game of the season is against Utica City at the SECU Arena on November 22nd. Then they come to Utica on November 24th, hosting Canada on December 7th at the SECU Arena, and then hosting Utica City on December 14th at home. So they actually have home field advantage for 3 out of the 4 games for the first stretch of the season. 3 out of the 4 also being Utica.
That's always a good way to start the season. I mean, you get 3 at home right away, gives you that home field advantage on that mini field that everyone loves to hate.
Yeah, the mini field.
Baby field. And
what else you got?
We do have some returning players. We have Adriano Dos Santos, who is a defender, re-signed in June of 2019 to a 2-year extension, entering his 10th season of being in the Pro Arena Soccer, all with the Baltimore Blast, and made it to the MASL Team of the Week in Week 7 of last year's season. He was also a finalist, if I remember correctly, for MASL Defender of the Year, which Toby won.
Yes, ultimately went to Darren Toby. Interesting note about him, he served 24 penalty minutes last season, which was 3rd most in the league. So maybe a little bit of a temper. And when you have a high-end defender like that who's got to sit and is giving the opponent power plays, it's something that Utica could probably take advantage again.
The more time that they're off the field, the better for everyone else involved.
We've got Andrew Hoxie, who was a forward, re-signed in June of 2019 to another 2-year extension, entering his 5th season with the Blast, 19 goals in 21 regular season games last season, and 87 points in 79 games overall with Baltimore. So he's, I hate to say it, but they had a good keep there. Yeah,
Van Zella, 4.09 goals allowed against, which was 3rd best in the league, and a .753 save percentage for the best in the league. The reason they're so tough to beat is because they have a premier defender or a premier keeper in the box trying to keep others from scoring.
And then we re-signed Jamie Thomas. Well, they re-signed Jamie Thomas. Not going there. Jamie Thomas is a forward, re-signed in May of 2019. No details on the length of his extension. Entering his 3rd season in the MASL and with the Blast. 5 assists, 12 points, and 29 shots on goal during the 2018 to 2019 regular season.
That sounds like they've signed some key free agents. Re-signed them, kept them back.
We're still going.
Oh, yeah.
We have, I think it's Jeremy Rayleigh, another defender, re-signed in May of 2019. Like with Thomas, no details on length of extension. Just finished up his 4th season with the Blast. 3 assists and 18 blocked shots on goal and 8 points scored. Tied with defender Mike Diesel for most shots blocked amongst Blast players.
Okay.
Then we have Juan Galvis, re-signed with Baltimore in May of 2019. No details on his length of extension either. Made first indoor appearance for Baltimore in the February 15th game against Mississauga. Scored first professional goal against Orlando Seawolves on March 22nd. So it seems like he's a new one.
Kind of came in late last year. Could be a bit of a wild card this year, depending on who they keep that's still unsigned and who they decide to let go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see more out of him since apparently he only scored, 2 goals?
Just throwing it out there, today's going to be the day of butchering names.
It is.
It's going to be one of those
days.
We'll
apologize in advance to all the fans and players. So we're not great with pronouncing.
Yeah, and then we have Samuel Guernsey, who's a midfield. signed a 3-year extension with Baltimore in May of 2019. 7 points scored in 15 games. Known by Baltimore fans for backflip apparently I can't talk today. Celebrations after scoring goals. Doesn't that kind of sound like Duro?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Came to Baltimore from the Cedar Rapids Rampage.
I believe Cedar Rapids moved to Orlando, so ultimately
it sounds like they merged with the Seawolves, kind of. Maybe. I don't know. And then they re-signed Mike Diesel, a defender, signed a 1-year extension with Baltimore in November of 2019. This was signed, I do believe, within the last week. Entering his 7th season in the MASL, all with the Blast, was the only Blast player to play in all 24 regular season games last season, and 18 block shots, which, again, he's tied with another player for most shots blocked for Baltimore. Little fun fact, he retired from MASL after 4 years to pursue a career as a firefighter. For the city of Baltimore, came back to the Blast at the end of the 2017-2018 season.
Good for him.
And then they do have one new signing, Victor France, who was a forward. I guess he came from Orlando Seawolves.
Okay.
Signed a 3-year contract with Baltimore in May of 2019. Has appeared for St. Louis Ambush, Cedar Rapids Rampage, and Orlando Seawolves. Breakout start in 2017 and 2018 season after scoring 26 points in 19 games for the Ambush Rampage. However, went to Orlando last season where he only played in 7 games due to injury and only averaged 1.5 points per game last year, totaled 11 points and 10 assists in the 7 games that he played. Baltimore still has 8 unsigned players and 1 departure. Yeah, Elton D. Oliveira. I'm going to butcher his name.
Oliveira.
I don't know. It's spelled Oliveria. It's not Oliveira. It's Oliveria. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
You spelled it wrong, too.
Sorry, Elton. Shut up. Defender. He signed with Harrisburg in May of 2019 and comes to a Harrisburg team, and actually which most of the veteran players have already re-signed. So.
All right. I guess 2 of the unsigned that we should mention are the Capinos brothers, since they do have ties to the Lancers, playing for them last year in M2.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be surprised if they end up leaving Baltimore and getting some more time in Rochester, where they might see more reliable minutes.
Well, yeah.
I think there's some potential there for them to go to the Lancers. It's an upcoming team. I think that could get some more playtime for sure and be able to shine.
Well, I mean, there is also too a lot of teams that haven't signed a lot of their free agents either back to their team or the free agents haven't signed with any other team. So it's really anyone's game at this point.
A couple weeks to go, so see what happens before November 22nd. Now, Utica and Baltimore, we did see them play 6 times last year in the regular season, plus the 2 playoff games in the mini game. Ignoring the postseason, like every other sport does, you just look at the regular season when you're comparing stats.
We
played them in our home opener last year.
Yes.
The inaugural opener, and we beat them.
Yes.
I do believe.
In that game, Daniel Peruzzi went down with an injury. He missed the entire season because of that, so he's another player that Baltimore will be getting back. Across those 6 games, Baltimore and Utica split during the regular season, going 3-3. But when you look at the stats, it's a little bit more interesting than that. Utica averaged 5.3 goals per game during those 6. Baltimore only averaged 4. So tight games, but based on the goal average, Utica's wins were bigger.
Yep.
Against all competition in the regular season last year, Baltimore scored on 23% of their shots, and their opponents only scored on 19%, whereas when they played Utica, they only scored on 18%, but Utica was able to score 23% of the time.
So role reversal right there.
Yeah, Utica seems to have a way of probing that Baltimore defense, and really, probing is what did it for you? Oh, God. seeming to get that ball past Van Zella with a little bit more ease than some of the other teams.
Yeah, they definitely, they had an interesting stretch last year. In every series that I think we had against Baltimore, it always, whether it was, the postseason was unfortunate for Utica, but it is what it is. But I mean, definitely had some really intense games throughout the season last year, and it was always entertaining to watch.
I mean, yeah, we did have an unfortunate run in the playoffs against Baltimore, which thank you, Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think everyone, except for Baltimore fans, was pretty happy to see someone besides Baltimore take home the Ron Newman Cup last year.
Yeah.
I would have rather it had been us.
Well,
you can't win them all.
I do have to admit, I'm really excited, though, because we did sign... I'll wait till Brandon talks about that.
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay. You did mention we play them 4 times this year.
That's just within the first month.
Yeah, we don't see Baltimore after December 29th. So there's going to be 3 months before a potential postseason matchup, which, given the animosity between the teams last year...
Not just the teams, the fans.
And the fans, could be a good thing. Could lead to some things boiling over there in the playoffs.
Like it unfortunately did the last time.
I mean, it's definitely interesting having to play them so much right in the beginning. I mean, for some people it could be considered ripping off the Band-Aid and kind of getting that part of the season done. But, it does kind of present a problem kind of almost for both teams because, if they end up facing off in the playoffs, which is, always pretty likely. I mean, they're both exceptional teams. It presents the problem of, not really being able to, having to kind of reference back and remember, like, okay, how did this team play? How do we play against them? Things like that. I mean, granted, they've played against each other for, quite some time, either as the Silver Knights or as the Utica City, but, I mean, it's still something to consider. There's a pretty big lapse in time there.
It's a pretty lengthy rivalry, actually.
I mean, one of the players who's still under contract for Baltimore didn't hit that free agency is Mello, and we know how much of a nightmare he can be for opposing defenses.
Yeah, just a little.
There's also...
Was that a short joke?
It wasn't meant to be, but take it as you will.
It's totally a short joke.
We say short, but he's probably average height.
I forgot he's the little one.
Yes, Mello, number 23, I think he wore last year. Don't know why I remember the number, but
I just remember Dos Santos taunting the Utica fans.
It's probably a 2.3.
And the taunt is what you remember from Dos Santos, not when he was trying to play gynecologist.
I remember that too, but that's why I laughed when you said probing.
Bo was not thrilled with that.
Bo was not thrilled with that at all.
He was very upset, understandably so.
And then he got the card for it, not Dos Santos.
Well, then the card got called off, which
people question it, but
yeah,
he was giving them the business.
Oh my god! Thank God for editing.
Yeah, never let anyone tell you that this arena soccer isn't some good, clean, wholesome family fun.
Hang on, let's see what number Mello. He 23.
Yep, told you. I don't know why that number sticks in my head.
2.3. That's his height.
I don't envy you later when you're editing this.
You're gonna have so much fun.
Oh my god, I'm leaving most of this in.
He's 5'7". That's average height for a man.
Yeah,
he's
like
as tall as I am.
I could look him in the eyes. Because I am also 5'7".
Well, I guess we're short then.
I mean, you're taller than him. First of all, second of all, I would still have to look up at him. So
it's just being out there on the field with all the guys that are 6'2", 6'3".
Look at Andrew Coughlin. He's standing next to Andrew Coughlin, and he's dwarfed.
You should
Jose Altuve next to Aaron Judge, which is a comical picture, and I feel like we need to do that with a few of the players in indoor soccer. So I think that wraps up everything on Baltimore.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
No.
I got nothing.
I'm kind of hoping. I honestly hope that they tone down the taunting of the fans this coming
On both
season.
sides, because I heard it back from Baltimore fans.
Yep,
you
I
know,
heard Joey was taunting them, I think.
yeah, you have no idea what these guys say when they're in Baltimore. It's like, no, but I'd love to. It's just a 6-hour drive is,
without traffic.
yeah. 95's no fun.
I mean, you always have to figure, whenever you're playing in a quote-unquote hostile environment or, you know, a rival environment, I mean, you expect
The fans are going
to get on you.
Yeah.
And, of course, you know, that's going to heat you
We're
up
good at
and
that,
then
Utica.
potentially get you to, you know, give it right back. But some of the guys just need to understand it's like, if we
You
met
can go
you,
too
a lot
far.
of the Utica fans, if we met you off, if we met some of the Baltimore players off the field, we'd buy you a beer. I mean, that's just how most
Michelle
people
looks
are.
confused. yeah, it's the heat of the moment.
Yeah. It's an intense sport.
I think it's one thing to taunt when you're on your own field. It's another to do it when you're...
It's already high
When
stakes. The fans are already angry.
When the crowd's behind you, it's fine to get a little showboaty. But when...
We are very blatantly, clearly not behind you,
Yeah.
and you hop on the board.
Or, as we saw a few players from different teams do, flip off crowds at the odd, well, officials were looking the other way.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, if that got caught on camera in any other major league, that's a fine
Instantly.
for an obscene gesture. All right, moving on. Harrisburg.
All right, so Harrisburg Heat, for those that don't know, you know, they play in the Pennsylvania Farm Show Complex and Expo Center, the New Holland Arena. In previous years, 2017-2018 season, bit of a negative record with 6 wins, 16 losses. For goals, they had 114 scored, 148 against. 2018-2019 season, they did a little bit better. You know, they went 11-13, which is definitely an improvement over the year before, and 146 goals to 158 against. So, I mean, they definitely they allowed more, but they also scored a pretty good amount of more goals. You know, another 32 goals last season. So they definitely stepped it up. Want to go over some of the player changes that they've got. So, of course, receiving from Baltimore, we've got, I'm going to butcher the name,
Just
and
go
I
with
apologize. Elton de Oliveira.
Oliveira.
Whatever, Elton. I'm sorry.
Elton.
I'm sorry.
Oliviero.
Oliveira. We're going to go with that.
Okay.
So he's played for Baltimore for the past 3
You
seasons.
just say it with confidence.
So 2016-2017, he played 18 games, only scored 3 goals with 2 assists. He had 19 shots on goal, had a total of a 16% scoring percentage. The next season, about the same. 21 games played, 2 goals, 1 assist, 14 shots, and another 18% scoring percentage. But then 2018 to 2019, he had 18 games, 7 goals, 5 assists, with 29 shots on goal and a 25% scoring percentage. So each year he stepped it up. Granted, he is a defender, so I mean, it's you're not going to see high numbers from a defender most of the time. They do still get up the field, but he's definitely going to be interesting to watch with Harrisburg.
Mm-hmm.
The other acquisition from another team was Jerger Gibson. He previously was a forward. It wasn't listed yet on Harrisburg's site, but I'm assuming he's going to assume the same position. And he's played for Syracuse and he's played for St. Louis. He just going to go over a couple seasons here. So 2016-2017, he played 19 games with 8 goals, 5 assists, 34 shots on goal, and a 24% scoring percentage. 2017 to 2018, he was at St. Louis. 22 games played, 13 goals, 10 assists, had 63 shots, and then 21% scoring percentage. However, in the 2018-2019 season, he only played 8 games with 4 goals, 3 assists, and 17 shots. However, the reason that there was so few was because he suffered a knee injury in the January 5th game and left the team for the remainder of the season, just to make sure that he could, he approached the team and essentially said, I need to recover for the rest of the season. I want to make sure I come back better for next season. Well, of course, he's not coming back to St. Louis, but at least he's coming back. I was kind of wondering, because I watched some stuff, some videos on him from the previous season, and he's definitely a very animated character. He has the dyed hair from St. Louis, and I'd be interested to see if he does the same for Harrisburg's colors as well. And I'm just curious how he's going to be playing, once he comes back off of injury. I think it's definitely going to be kind of a toss-up whether or not he ends up being better than his 2017-2018 season, or if he's going to, come back and be potentially outshined. But given some of the other departures from Harrisburg, I definitely think they're going to need him to perform. So we've got a couple of first-year players new to the league. So we've got Michael DeGraffenreich. He's a defender. He was a 4-year starter from the University of Louisiana. He was drafted in 2017 via the MLS Combine to the New York City FC. Unfortunately, he suffered an injury in the training camp and then went to play in the USL for Nashville Soccer Club in 2018. So he, is going to hopefully help to potentially bolster the defense. All right, so the second first year we've got is Malcolm Harris. He is a midfield defender. He was a 4-year starter, first at the University of Denver in the first year, and then he played for UMBC the last 3. He was named he was on the All East Region first team. He was Defender of the Year in the American East Conference in 2015, and he started his professional career in Sweden in 2018 for Sala FF. Now, we've got some returning players that were signed. I'm just going to go over the 3 that I found from free agency, which were David and Tom Mellor. Or Mellor, I apologize again. So David is a defender. He played in the last season, in 2018, he played 22 games with 50 shots on goal, 5 goals, 3 assists. And 2018-2019, there wasn't really too many games played. I didn't have too much to report on that one. Didn't see any injury reports, so I'm just assuming that they just didn't really utilize David all that much. Tom Mellor, who is a forward, for his 2018-2019 season, played 20 games, 10 goals, 6 assists. He had 31 shots on goal and a 32% score percentage. Now, the last one returning is some of the keeper's favorite, Nelson Santana. He is a defender. It's his second year with Harrisburg. He previously was with Baltimore. 2018-2019 season, he had 24 games played, 8 shots on goal. 8 goals, 11 assists, 32 shots on goal with a 28% score percentage. He had 27 fouls to note and 26 shots blocked. So he had a pretty decent season last year. I think he definitely, every time we saw him, whether it was when we traveled to the New Holland Arena, some of the keepers did. Between our travels there and watching
Their
at
travels
home
here.
and their travels here, he definitely he was always one to watch in every game. I think
He used to play for Syracuse too, didn't he?
Yes.
yes.
With Tommy, you said he had 10 goals, correct?
Yes, I found that he had 10 goals.
So of note is he had 5 of those were power play goals, which was 9th best in the league. So he might not score a ton, but he seems to take advantage of it when Harrisburg's playing with a man advantage.
He's able to capitalize when they're on a power play, and I mean some teams you just don't see it. They'll play with the ball and not do anything with it on a power
and then they
play.
don't move it.
and that's a problem. You got to use that time, and the fact that he has that under his belt is definitely good for the team in those situations. Now, of course, with every other team, we do have some departures. I'm pretty happy about this one, which is Matt Perella. Of course, he's a goalkeeper come to Utica City. He had 12 games last year with 63 goals against him and a 6 goal against average per game, 113 saves, and about a 65% save average. He started 11 out of the 12 games that he played, and I think, we basically never saw Andrew Coughlin
off the field
ever.
Yeah.
Now that's not a bad thing, but that's definitely puts a strain on Coughlin, and I think that potentially Perella could definitely help to supplement our defense and be able to potentially give Coughlin the breaks that he may have needed last year but couldn't take because we didn't really have
a backup keeper.
We have a couple back-to-back games like that Soles won, which I forget West Coast or which time zone they're in, but I know East Coast it was like a 10 o'clock game on a Saturday and then the 8 o'clock. So they're turning around by the end of that game. They're playing 20 hours later.
You're tired after I would imagine these guys are pretty tired after one. So I mean, having someone to supplement Coughlin is definitely going to be beneficial to the city, and God forbid anything happens to Coughlin, we have at least someone who can potentially try and stick in goal that seems to be fairly reliable.
Right, his 6 goals allowed against were 10th best in the league, I believe, which probably is lower with a better back line in front of him.
Right, and he's definitely going to have a pretty good back line with Schindler, Togba, and of course Toby,
Bordeaux, Logan.
We've got a pretty solid. I think we've got a pretty solid back line, and whether it's Coughlin or Perella, I think it's going to be. I think they're going to be pretty solid. So it's going to be hard to get through. And then, of course, we've got the other departure, which is we kind of talked on before, Ricardo Carvalho. He was, of course, a midfielder. He has gone with Steven DeRue and Joey Tavernisi down to the Tropics.
So many other top 40 free agent signings went to Florida.
So he was...
They scrambled.
Ranked... I believe he was ranked 9th. According to when he was according to the articles I found when he was traded, he was ranked 9th in the goals and total points for last year. He had 23 games played with 30 goals scored, 19 assists, 87 shots on goal with a 34% score percentage. So definitely looking at their stats, he was their top scorer last year, and to lose him, I think, is a pretty serious hit to Harrisburg.
Okay, gotta be tough to replace. Who's got to step it up?
Well, I actually kind of have some players that I believe we need to watch for this season regarding Harrisburg, and a couple of them which really need to step up. One of them is Giorgio Gibson. Of course, he's the newcomer. He's had some really... I believe there's potential there. If he's rested, if he's back at 100%, I think he could have a pretty explosive season. He was showing potential in the years before he was injured, and I really think that he could potentially, if he could bring back those numbers from 2018, he could be a real asset to Harrisburg. He could potentially fill those shoes, but he's got some pretty big shoes to fill. Now, the other one, of course, is Taboy Morgan. He was the other forward that was right behind, or right on the heels of Ricardo last year. He had 23 goals, 10 assists, 74 shots on goal. He had 22 shots blocked, and he had a 31% score average, or score percentage, excuse me. So he definitely, with Ricardo being gone, now's the time for him to step up and take that number 1 spot for Harrisburg. But between those two, one of them at least needs to, definitely step it up and fill those shoes. I mean, there's other ones too, but those are the two closest that I think could potentially do it.
Right. And it looks like Morgan was pretty clutch last year. 4 of his goals were the game-winning goal, which tied him for 7th best in the league.
Yeah, he definitely, like I said, he was right behind. He was right behind Carvalho last year, and I definitely think that he could have the potential to fill those shoes and really, pull the team through. And of course, the last one that I have, I kind of threw this one in because we didn't see him that much last year for Harrisburg, and that was I'm going to possibly butcher it, but Zach Hostler. I think I did that pretty well. Of course, he was the 3rd goalkeeper for Harrisburg. He only played 1 game last year, but in that game, he did. They won it. He had 15 shots against him, 6 goals allowed, and 9 saves, of course. So, at least his goals allowed versus scored is definitely, his goals versus saved is definitely in favor of him. But the fact that Matt Perella's gone, we could see him being more utilized by the team. He was, of course, still behind. I forget their other goalkeeper, and I apologize, but he's still going to most likely be 2nd string. But he could definitely see some more play time because the play time between the other 2 goalkeepers was split pretty much right down the middle last year. I believe it was like 12 and 12 or something like that. 12 and 11. That's it.
Yeah,
something
12
around
for Perella, 11 for 2nd string, and then
Zach had 1. So, again, he could be another one to definitely watch for the team. That if he steps it up, who knows? Maybe he becomes a 1st string or something like that. So I mean, there's definitely potential there. I'd be interested to see what happens with him.
Yeah. So last year, Utica saw Harrisburg 6 times, being another Eastern Division foe. In those games, Utica won 5 of them. I don't see any reason that changes this year, really, except for we only play 4 times.
I mean, anything can happen throughout the season.
Yeah.
Anything, but at the same time...
when you look at the talent...
Yeah, when you look at the talent and you look at, how Utica has bolstered themselves with some of these new additions in the back line and some of the new talent that we have and the talent we are retaining. I definitely think that we have the potential to take all 4 of those games, or at least 3 of them. So it definitely I believe we would give Harrisburg a run for their money this year.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a challenge for Pat Healy with a lot of these young and I don't want to say unproven or untested, but
they've got a lot to show. They've got a lot to actually prove.
They've got a couple.
They've got to prove their worth in the MASL.
Couple big holes to fill, and we'll see how things go for them.
Well,
So I mean, as far as how they open their season, they've got a series against 3 games. No, they've got a series against Rochester for their opening games. I think it could be interesting to see them, going up against Rochester. They haven't played them in. I don't know if I actually don't know when the last time was if
Rochester hasn't been an M1 in a handful of years.
Yeah, so it's definitely we're going to say it's basically going to be a first for them. So it could definitely be very interesting. That Rochester's going to have 3 games under their belt prior to Harrisburg. We of course play them for the first time away December 8th, and then they're going to have a 3-game stretch against Canada. After that, I believe that they really have a pretty tough second half for the season. They've got 3 games against 3 games against Baltimore, and then 2 games each against Milwaukee and Utica. So they really have a pretty tough schedule in the second half of the season.
I feel like they had a stretch like that this past year, and they kind of surprised the entire league. I remember there was a weekend where they had Utica and Baltimore back-to-back at home, and upset both of them. So, I mean, they're not a team that you can sleep on, but...
No, absolutely not. I mean, they're one of those teams. It's almost you back them in the corner and they come out swinging.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I see them matching their 11 wins from last year, but let's see what the season brings. Anything else you want to say about Harrisburg there, Brandon?
No, just like every other team, I wish them luck in the upcoming season, and we'll see them when they come to Utica, and potentially if we go out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that brings us to our new segment. We opened it up on Twitter and Facebook this week. We're calling it Keeper's Queries. Give you guys a chance to ask us some questions and see how we feel. Our first one is from the FC fanatic Matt Huber himself. He asks, with the departure of Carvalho, will Harrisburg take a step back this season?
Well, and that's kind of where I think that if they don't take a step back, the only reason is going to be because of Gerger Gibson and Tavoy Morgan. Between those two, as I put, those are two that I think are really good ones to watch. And if they step it up, then they're not going to take it. I don't believe they'll take a step back, and they'll, they're not going to stumble without Carvalho. But if they don't, then yeah, I think that they're going to struggle and they're going to have some problems this season.
Asking me, I'd say no matter what happens, they're probably going to take a step back. It's 49 points. That's a lot of points to replace, and I would say they had 2 or 3 big options last year with Carvalho and Morgan.
Yep.
You really need someone else there to open it up potentially for Morgan and Gibson in this coming season.
I was going to say it could either be a stumble back, it could be a step back into a stumble, or a step back into a fall. It could be either one. Either the new guys they signed step it up and are able to mostly fill the shoes of Carvalho, or they're going to fall on their face trying.
Yeah, I'm not saying their step back will be,
huge.
A 4-win season. I'm not going to put them in
That's
the
what
same
I'm not
class.
hoping for.
Right. But, I don't know, I think their ceiling's 10 wins at this point. Unless we see some major improvements orchestrated under Healy.
I mean, we never want to see a team step back. I wouldn't want to see them go back to their 6-16 record from 2017. But
yeah, it looks like they moved
potentially
in the right direction. But
they could potentially go back. Take a step back. Potentially like a 8-14 or something like that. Something around that area. There's anything's possible, but I mean, it really just comes down to the talent that's there, the talent that's coming in. They got to step it up.
So that leads us to our second Keeper's Query this week. This one comes from Kate McKinney again via Facebook. She'd like to know what will be more important for Utica facing Harrisburg and Baltimore this year. Is it the offense? Is it the defense? And which of these do we feel was most improved in the offseason?
Well, I mean, I have to go to if we're talking Utica, I'd have to say our improvements were definitely in the defense. I mean, thinking about who we have in the back line, it's...
Yeah, we did just sign Tagba.
It's going to be tough to get anything past, I think. As long as, the synergy's there, they're going to be tough to get past.
I'd have to say offense. They're coming back. They're hungry. They're still bitter over the loss in the playoffs. And any offense led by Bo?
Yeah, I'm going to go offense as well. Not because I don't see Tagba and Perella as huge additions to the back line.
Because they are.
Right. But because Tagba is also a offensive defender. He had 18 goals and 8 assists last year. Moy had 30 goals. We don't really know what Momo's going to do. And we also have Ricardo Dieguez and Zuniga. They're both midfielders,
And Slav. We've got Slav in the midfield, too. So
yeah. I mean, Utica set out last year, and the one thing we continually heard was they have a great defense. They have a great defense. This year, we went from looking to slog it out in games that are 6-4 or 7-5. I think Tommy Tanner wants to bury our opponents and leave no doubt who is the best team on that field. As for which one's more important against Harrisburg, I'm going to say it's our offense. Just get out early, punch them in the gut, and then step on their throat. Make sure that there's no doubt who the better team is by halftime. Yep. So if we have some of those third quarter slumps, which was weird and only held to the third quarter last year.
Yeah, we had some really tough third quarters last year.
It was weird. It was continual across the entire season.
Go from great first and second quarters to a slump in the third quarter and then break back out in the fourth quarter. It's like, I think defense is what's going to do us for Baltimore.
Yeah, I have to agree. They have too many offensive options.
Yeah, we got to keep their scores low. And
Mello and Guernsey and Hoxie and Dos Santos can get his goals.
Yeah, we need to keep them. We need to be able to keep them at bay, and we need to rely on our offense to be able to find the holes and punch the goals through.
Those are going to be slugfests. But I mean, if we allowed 4 goals against them last year, I think defensively we need to come out and target 3.5. If those are slugfests where we're talking 5-3, 4-6, or something like that, 1 or 2 goal games, they're pretty likely against Baltimore, and those are the ones where you need your defense to be the most solid.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll be back next week. We'll focus on 2 more teams. We'll probably drop a hint on our social media over this week, which one, when we look for next week's Keeper Queries. So keep an eye to Twitter, at Keepers Corner Pod, and our Facebook page, Keepers Corner Podcast. Our post will also be up in the MASL Off the Wall group. So give us a listen, give us a follow, and hit us up with your questions. If you're not a social media user, you can also email us. It's keeperscornerpod@gmail.com. That's all for this week. Tune in next Monday.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.